give me the opioids, and there was talks amongst my camp, like Ye's popping pills, right? So when he handed it to me, listen to me, he said, you know this is used to kill genius, right? So I didn't take it. 2 days later, I'm in the hospital. I was taking 2 pills a day at that time. When I left the hospital, how many pills you think I was given? 7. I went from taking 2 pills to taking 7.
Black community, yeah, I'm always gonna represent that, but I also represent the world. When you hear about slavery for 400 years, for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. Like, you was there for 400 years and it's all of y'all? You know, like...
Let this be a lesson that black folks need to be codified. We've got to stop cooning, love dancing, book making for Cornbread.
How's everybody doing? This is Information Man, and as you know, just the other night or so, I was trying to do a video about Kanye West, and that video was entitled, Kanye West Has Lost His Mind. And I had put on the thumbnail, Negro Please, Kanye West gets the Negro Please Award for the embarrassment of black people, I would say not only, I say worldwide. Now, Kanye West, you just heard audio where he's screaming and going on about the pills. He started with 1 or 2 pills. Once he went to the hospital, all of a sudden now he's on 7 pills. So he's clearly telling you that he's got some mental health issues, okay? And then Kanye West goes into his rant and he goes to TMZ, which I thought the whole situation with TMZ was orchestrated, okay? He just happens to show up at TMZ and they just happen to have the cameras all ready for him when he's running around talking all that rhetoric out of his mouth. And so he goes to TMZ, runs his mouth, talks about how black Americans or black people made a choice to be in slavery. He says, it's 400 years, right? It's 500 years, right? Well, that's a choice. I mean, all of them? No. Kanye, you came out with your first album some years ago, which I really admired, and I thought that you were a real activist type of brother that was rapping, because you came out with an album called The College Dropout. And I'm saying right now, listening to Kanye West run his mouth and say ridiculous stuff out of his mouth, it tells me as the information man that he needs to go back to school. And that's probably what his problem is, that he should have never dropped out of school, because he's just buffoonish right now. And as it says on my thumbnail, Kanye coon. Okay, he's just cooning. And this seems to be the year. This really seems to be the year of the coon. There's no doubt about it. And with that said, Kanye West goes into this rant and he talks about how I'm not only nationally recognized, but I represent the world, not just black people. First of all, Kanye West does not represent the world. Who died and made him God? Who died and said, hey, Kanye, you're the leader? Now, you remember Kanye West when he was meeting with Donald Trump at his horrible tower? What a lot of people don't realize that I live close to the Sacramento area, and Kanye West came out here for a concert around that same period of time. He has, I believe, I'm going to diagnose him right now because I'm going to put my psychology experience, my 16 years of experience in psychology on this right now. I believe that what he has is that Kanye West is a highly, and I do mean highly, narcissistic personality disorder is what Kanye West has. He may have a bit of bipolar, because a bipolar personality on the upswing of the DSM-5 will bring you up high, it will bring you down low, your emotions all over the place. I feel that the true source of Kanye West's problems, you can take it all the way back to his mother's death. That, in my estimate, is sort of what caused the downspin, because he's in trauma, and you will exploit that trauma will manifest itself in so many different ways. I also believe, talking to people, that Kanye West doesn't have the right people in his interest in his camp. There's rumors that the Kardashians are concerned about his behavior, how it makes their brand look. So he's made a lot of bad decisions. He's got the wrong woman in his life. And I do believe that when you break down the common denominators, that I believe that the common denominators are the Kardashian family. Every man that gets involved with the Kardashian family, something changes in them. You can look at Bruce Jenner, who was a manly man, an Olympic gold medalist. All of a sudden, he wants to be a woman. Then you had Odom, basketball player. Brother played for the Clippers, played with the Lakers. All of a sudden, he gets caught in a bunny ranch with drugs, and he's ready to take his life. And he's involved with one of these Kardashian women. Ray J, which is where Kim Kardashian made her bones when she did that sex tape. And then ever since Ray J got involved with her, he has never really been on top of his game entertainment-wise. He had a quick little music, quick little album, but he's really never blown up into much. And then when you look at someone like Reggie Bush, who should have had, in my estimate, a brilliant NFL career after coming out of USC. He gets involved with Kim Kardashian, and he falls all apart in his football game. And then there's rumors that you had Christian Thomas of the Cavaliers. I think he's a power forward. He has had a little interaction with these women. He's fallen apart. And one of the things that I don't get is they're famous for doing nothing. They don't sing, they don't dance. Kanye West has the most talent in that family. And he's really screwed up. He's gotten her pregnant. So I think at some point in time, they're going to get rid of this Negro. And because she's popped out 2 kids for him, they're going to drain him dry of all his money and resources like a vampire. I believe that this is coming right down the line. Now, a combination of his bad choices and the women he chooses to have in his life, the combination of the loss of his mother, his mother and him were very close, and you cannot underestimate the relationship between a son and his mother. It's a very close relationship. It's a very bonded relationship. I know I have a mother. My father and mother divorced when I was very young, and the majority of my bond was with my mother. So you cannot underestimate that when a man loses his mother, who's been everything for him in his life. So that has really turned him totally 360. And then remember, there was reports that he had a drinking problem. He was drinking a lot of his. And people who are bipolar, they will have when you have mental illness, you will engage. As I said on the Stephon Clark video, you will do risky behavior, whether it be sexually, drugs, alcohol. You're going to live high. You're going to live on the tightrope kind of lifestyle. And Kanye West, when he came to Sacramento, he did a concert. He sort of had this stage that lifted above people because he has what I call a God complex, which is exactly what a person does when they have a narcissistic personality. They believe that they're sort of above everyone, which is what you saw when he gets upset, when he tried to take the rewards out of other people's hands because they won best music of the year, what have you. Kanye West is really caught up in all of himself. When he first started, he was a humble brother, but he somehow has lost his way. The combination of mental illness wrapped in the fact that he thinks very high of himself, which every man should think high of themselves, but you got to be within your reason. So Kanye West, to me, is sort of a victim of his own fame. He's a victim of his own behavior. And he's also in a trauma state because he's never been the same since he lost his mother. When you look at even Tiger Woods with his coonish self, ever since his father died, Tiger Woods has never been the same as far as his golf game. He got involved with a white woman who really had brought nothing to the table. And it was a very bad decision on Tiger Woods to get himself involved in these type of circumstances. But getting back to Kanye West, on those audio clips that you heard, he was really ridiculous. His behavior is buffoonish. I'm telling every black person out there, when you have these black celebrities who really don't do anything for us, don't support them. He went up there, he met with Donald Trump, him and Steve Harvey, the coon, running Jim Brown, the coon, and Omarosa, the pancake box mammy. They all met with Donald Trump, talking about how they were meeting with him to get help for the black community. And yet there's been no progress report. None of these Negroes have given a progress report as to what Donald Trump is going to do or has done or will do for the black community, although he touts that he's gotten black unemployment down to its lowest, which is bullshit. The only time that black people have been unemployed in this country is when we have had 100% unemployment rate, or had no unemployment, is when we were in slavery and we were working for free. And this country still did not give us the 40 acres and a mule that we should have gotten. So now, getting back to this Kanye West nonsense again. So Kanye West talks about black people made it a choice. It's bullshit. Let me read you. Black people didn't make no damn choice to be in slavery. Hey, I had a few technical difficulties, so let me state what I was going to say. Kanye West is a complete fool. I'm going to repeat that again. He's a complete fool, stating that it was a choice that black people wanted to be in slavery. Let me read what black people were doing to fight the power back in the day against slavery. We talk about slave revolts. Now keep this in mind. This is very important. Kanye West, in my opinion right now, he gets the Negro Please Award. That's right, Negro Please Award, because black people were fighting back. You had slave rebellions throughout the country. Now, you had indigenous servants, which were white people that came from Europe. You had black folks that were put in slavery. But let me read here. In 1672, there were reports of fugitive slave forming groups to harass plantation owners. That's right, white folks, okay? They were harassing these plantation owners. The first recorded all-black slave revolt occurred in Virginia in 1687, okay? Virginia was hostile. Several uprisings occurred in Virginia, okay? You had and once in Richmond, Virginia, in 1800, okay, and you had a revolt in which you had a rebellion throughout this whole country, starting with Nat Turner's rebellion. So let me just break this down. I might have been off kilter there a little bit. Basically, in 1887 was when you had some of the first slave revolts in this country, okay? So black folks had been uprising, coming together, forming their own bonds together to fight against the oppression of white people, and particularly white slave masters on these plantations. Nat Turner, let me read about Nat Turner. Nat Turner, slave Nat Turner, was a self-educated, prone to religious visions, which fueled his belief that a day was coming, a day of judgment, okay, a day of judgment for white folks in this country, okay? In 1831, he enlisted the help of several other black people that were enslaved to rebel against the slave masters, okay? In the morning hours of August the 22nd, Nat Turner and his group of, as they say here, murdered their masters, okay, and their families. After swelling into a large group comprising of 60 slaves, by afternoon, more and more killing faced off with white slave masters, white property owners, white individuals that were opposing us, okay? The group that ran with Nat Turner, they scattered throughout Virginia, trying to enlist other slaves to join the rebellion. And as you know through history, once they caught Nat Turner, they peeled his skin back, they took his skull out, they grinded his bones, and they layered it through the streets. They hated what he did, and it was, once again, they always use someone that looks like us to destroy us, because it was a coon type, these Kanye West types, these Larry Elder types, these Armstrong William types, these type of Clarence Thomas type Negroes who turn on us when we're trying to rebel and rise up. And that's how they caught Nat Turner. It was one of these butter biscuit type of Negroes who turned him in for the master, okay? Now you have the Stony Rebellion, okay? One of the bloodiest slave rebellions known as the Stony Rebellion, okay? This happened in South Carolina in 1738 at River Bridge near Charleston, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, okay? But this happened in Charleston, basically. One September morning, 20 slaves broke into a store, stole weapons, I love it, supplies, and headed for the refuge of the Spanish Rood, Florida, leaving 23 murder victims in their path. So black people, Kanye West, and everybody out there listening, black people didn't take being slaves laying down. Black people didn't make it a choice. You had slave revolts. Hell, you had black folks on the slave ship coming over here over the Middle Passages who decided to give their life to the sea and give their life to the sharks that would eat them in the sea, rather die than be a slave. So Kanye West, clearly, as I said in this video, need to go back to school and study up a little bit. Now, during this situation that took place in Florida, you had an uprising. They uprised into a total of 100 groups, 100 slaves, okay? Basically, in Florida. The rebellion stopped in an open field and made ruckuses in hopes of other slaves. So they made a ruckus trying to recruit other slaves to join in, okay? In hopes that other slaves would hear them and join them. So they made a ruckus. They were screaming out, calling on other slaves, to other black folks to join with them in this rebellion against white folks, okay? To join in. A local military or militia confronted the group, with most of the escaped slaves caught and executed. So a lot of times when black people were rising up, can you listen to me, folks? Can you listen to me, Kanye West? Come on, can you hear the words that I'm saying? Wake up, brother. Or coon. A lot of black folks, when they would rise up like this, they would end up dead. They would sacrifice themselves. Sometimes a movement, not a moment, requires a sacrifice. And some of us will have to sacrifice for the future of our people. And a lot of times this is what our ancestors did. So Kanye West is a complete bovine excrement, buck dancing fool. Now, in 1816, Camden slaves planned to set fire to a town and kill the white population. 17 slaves were arrested and 7 executed. In 1829, more successful attempts saw 85 buildings torched and burned to the ground. These were black slaves who were rebellion. Now, New York, for those of y'all that always want to talk all that, I'm from New York, I'm representing New York. New York has its history in slavery, along with New Jersey. You know, New Jersey was one of the last states in this country to end slavery. This is a northern state, which is why Malcolm X said everything south of Canada, past the Mason-Dixie line, is the South. And Malcolm X said that anything below Canada is the South. Because you had racism, you had sundown cities in the North. Now, in the 18th century, slaves comprised 20% of the population in New York City. 1712 saw the city as a hostile, significant revolt center on enslaving warriors from African Gold Coast. So let me see here. Let me read this right. Slaves comprised 20% of the population in New York City. And 1712 let me correct myself. In the year 1712, New York became a very hostile place for black people to live in, to deal with. And as a result, there were quite a few slave revolts. You had enslaved warriors from the Gold Coast of Africa. Many of us like to get all caught up into Egypt and pyramids. But the majority of black folks came from, in this country, even though Africans are all over the world, this planet belongs to us. We're from everywhere. So it all belongs to us, whether it's from Africa, whether it's here in America. We are the original people of this landscape. But for the purpose of this, these were Gold Coast African warriors that there were slaves who were putting up a good fight in New York against white folks at this time. Early in the year, some slaves planned an uprising in April with local Indians armed with guns, swords, and knives and axes. 23 men gathered in an orchard at the northern tip of the city of New York City before setting fire to slave-owned homes. This is New York City, okay? So this happens in the north, it happened in the south. And there are several accounts of black people trying to unite with native people to fight against our oppressors, okay? And we do know that there is some history in which Native Americans were enslaving black people too as well. So with that said, Kanye West gets a big donkey of the year. I could read on. You had the German Coast Uprising, in which in 1811, German Coast Uprising was the largest slave revolt in American history, giving the number of people involved taking place along the Mississippi River, New Orleans, in an area known as the German Coast. The plan was to destroy sugarcane plantations for free every slave in the state and take control of New Orleans. So slave revolts have been going on for a long time, and black people, we don't make it a choice to be slaves. We stand up and we fight against the power. This is Information Man. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, share, like. Thank you, folks. And I'm out of here.